Japan's Golden Week. If you've never heard of it, you're probably not alone. 4 holidays packed within a week sounds reasonable enough. After all, in the West, there are several countries who have similar things, so why is this such a big deal? Because of Japan's more strict work culture, you often don't really get to take a lot of time off. So when a big portion of the country gets the same week off of work and school, it's natural for it to garner a lot of attention. And this attention has even found its way out of the country, with a lot of tourists visiting Japan. Now, you might be asking yourself, Walt, what does this have to do with Super Smash Bros? Well, you absolute fool, to answer that, it has to be mentioned that Japan is in a very unique position in the competitive Smash Ultimate scene. Japan is widely considered to be one of the best countries in the world, with it rivaling all of North America combined in talent. But due to strict gambling laws prohibiting prize pools in the country, the USA is still the de facto hub for international competitions. During Golden Week, Japan is bustling with events, even more so than it already is normally, making it the perfect chance for internationals to experience a lot of tournaments in a short period of time. And with this being the first Golden Week after travel restrictions were lifted, this week was bound to be a spectacle. And it definitely delivered. Let's check it out. But first, look. We all know Nala at this point, so let's just cut right to the chase. Nala is a dog. She is not incredibly skilled at Super Smash Bros. Melee, and she doesn't know how computers work. But what she does know is that Surfshark VPN rules. And conveniently, she's here to tell you that this video is sponsored by Surfshark. Take it away, Nala. Surfshark has a discounted VPN plan that includes unlimited devices, a no-logs policy, high-speed connections, and 24/7 customer support. It helps you circumvent the law by being able to watch blocked content from other countries, so when Nala goes on her monthly copyright strike rampage, you can still watch this video from an entirely different country. And if you play P+ and want to continue living in the walls, they offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. Come on, are you really telling me Nala hasn't convinced you at this point? Get Surfshark VPN and receive an extra 3 months for free at surfshark.deal/Walt. Thanks again to Surfshark for supporting the channel, and in case you didn't remember what I said exactly 1 sentence ago, get an exclusive Surfshark deal with promo code WALT for an extra 3 months for free at the link in the description. This international delegation, if you will, that was sent was as follows. Mudace, Lima, Tabuzz, Cosmos, Jalzo, Send, Fatality, Hungrybox, and H4 for the US, Riddles for Canada, Mr. R for the Netherlands, as well as a few Australians in J Dizzle, SebPro101, Kanaji, and Zev. Additionally, Zomba joined in after Maesuma, and Spargo flew in for Kagaribi only. If you want a deeper dive on Kagaribi, please check out my good friend Lass's video in the corner over there. This was the biggest international invasion to Japan in Ultimate's history, and would provide a bit more context for comparing the different regions in strength. Welcome to Japan has become a bit of a meme recently, and it perfectly describes how Maesuma, the first of the Golden Week majors, was a bit of a cold shower for any players who took Japan lightly. A 512-person single-day event was something that could only exist in Japan, and whether it was just unfamiliarity with the format or jet lag, Japan more than adequately defended their home turf. Something you might see become true is the following. No matter how chaotic an event, the top 2 seeds apparently always make grands, and Maesuma was no exception. At this event, the top 2 seeds were Akola and Mia, without a doubt the 2 best players in Japan at the moment. Akola solidified his claim for number 1 in the world here, destroying everyone in his path, including a dominant 3-0 on Mia. On his way to win his 5th major win this year, more than anyone else, he only dropped 3 games total. Mia seemed to be on a similar trajectory before a freight train in the form of T stopped him dead in his tracks and sent him to losers before top 8 even started. Nevertheless, he brought it back to grands, defeating players like Neo, Yoshidora, Riddles, and Gact on his way there. Both of the other Zeta Division members, T and Gact, also made winner's side top 8 in what might be an organization's single best performance at a major, especially one of this size. But what's even more surprising is the fact that the second highest placing Zeta Division member was in fact not Mr. Mishima himself, but Ness's best representative, Gact. Having possibly the best event of his Ultimate career, he placed 3rd, only losing to the event's winner and its runner-up. But while Gact has gotten 3rd at a Super Major before, his wins here were otherworldly, almost single-handedly guaranteeing him a spot in the top 30, as he beat Shutone, T, and Riddles, 3 top 10 contenders back to back to back. With 3 slots and winner's side top 8 already being taken up, you might wonder who the 4th slot would go to. After all, there are several players who have proven to have what it takes to make it to top 8 on winner's side. Okay, wait, what the fuck is this? A Korin? Yeah, Japan's number 1 Korin, Neo, redeemed himself for his finish at the last Maesuma, where he was so close to making it into top 8 on winner's side only to get knocked out at 9th. This time around, however, he would make the run with nerves of steel, going last game with all 3 opponents after pools, including Ken on his patented Sonic. Ultimately, he would suffer the same losses as Gact for 5th place. At 7th place, there were two people who, at this point, should not need any further introductions: Yoshidora and Hero. By far the best players of their respective characters, Yoshi and Bowser, both achieved respectable 7th place finishes, being pretty much mainstays of the Maesuma top series at this point. But there's one placement I haven't mentioned yet: 4th. And that's for a reason. North America's single saving grace, okay, that might be a slight exaggeration, but whatever, was Riddles. After a relatively early loss, he managed to make a pretty good loser's run, defeating Kameme and Hero, as well as getting runbacks on T and Ken. And although he did end up losing to Mia, his performance was certainly nothing to scoff at. The same can't really be said for the other internationals that entered the tournament. As this wonderful graphic shows, this tournament had been a disaster for all but a select few internationals. And while for some of them that was certainly due to them being overseeded, trying to say that was the only reason for it would be quite disingenuous. Apart from the aforementioned Riddles, 5 international players had at least a decent tournament. All of Lima, Hungrybox, Mr. R, and H4 met their seed, while Send outperformed by 3 rounds, even getting a win over Lima. After that, though, is where it gets a little rough. 3 Australians, J Dizzle, SebPro 101, and Kanaji got eliminated for 129th. Both Cosmos and Dabuz suffered a loss to Minmin and placed 33rd. The worst fate, however, befell Fatality and Mutace. Fatality literally went 1 and 2, drowning in pools, while Mutace, having a solid argument for top 10 in the world before this week, lost to the world's best Banjo, Toriguri, and a duck hunt for 65th. But not all hope was lost though. After all, there were 2 more majors for them to redeem themselves. Delta 4, happening in Tokyo 2 days before Kagaribi, was a sort of warm-up for what would turn out to be the most stacked event of the season. While Delta 4 certainly wasn't as stacked as the other 2 events, most internationals still elected to enter bracket. It shouldn't come as much of a surprise, but with Cola absent, the clear favorite also took the event: Mia. Mr. Game & Watch's best player solidified his claim as a top 5 player, and although he did lose a set to Riddles, he ended up taking the entire event. With Kazuya being as much of a meta threat as he is, Mia's gameplay was a perfect exhibition of how to keep the character in disadvantage, often juggling and edgeguarding Riddles for a minute plus at a time. Now, Riddles, on the other hand, his top 64 started off funny, as he had to face 2 players with characters that his teammates also play: Yuzu with Rosalina and Luma, as well as Senra with Jigglypuff. He also had some close calls, like in his set with Umeki, but he ended up nabbing a solid 2nd place, even getting a win on Mia in the process. In 3rd place, we have another name everyone should be familiar with. Shutone is basically a legend of the Smash scene at this point, and it should come as no surprise that he would top 3 a major like this, or should it? Shutone's season so far has been rather interesting. Last year, he was basically the last bastion of consistency, whereas he's the total opposite this year. Perhaps the most comical when we put these results up next to each other is going from winning a major to getting 25th at a super regional back to winning the next major. He got a solid 3rd here, but Mia is seemingly starting to become a real bracket demon for him. Now, 4th place was a surprise to almost everyone, with all but the most in tune with the Japanese Smash scene having ever heard of this person. Aegis, meaning Terry, obviously, duh, whose best previous result at a major was 49th. Here he collected wins on players like Munekin, Takara, and Jagaimo. Even one of the sets he lost, we don't talk about the Shutone set, was quite impressive. He took Riddles to game 5, even forcing him off the Terry Ditto and onto his Kazuya. The rest of this top 8 was made up of players who have gotten quite a bit better recently. Players like Matsunabe, someone who's slowly making a case for the best Falco player in the world; Takara, who's starting to shake off some inconsistency issues; Yamanaction, whose recent switch from Luigi to Steve has started to skyrocket his results, as well as Jagaimo, which literally translates to potato for the record, who is very likely just the best Palutena in the world at this point. Maybe that checks out, I don't know. But how did the internationals do at this event compared to Maesuma? People with good events, again, were Send and Hungrybox both placing their seed. The Australians did about what they expected as well, with SebPro getting 65th and J Dizzle getting 97th. The top level of NA, however, did quite poorly again. Every one of them, apart from Riddles, got upset twice. None of them managed to place their seed either, with Cosmos getting 13th, Zomba getting 25th, Dabuz getting 33rd, and Mutace getting 49th. But it's alright, there was still one more redeeming chance to beat the NA is free allegations. Kagaribi, according to AltRank, is the most stacked event of the year so far, with the only possibility surpassing it this year being in SmashCon. It was a 1,024 entrant 2-day event, and to call it vital in determining the trajectory of this season's ranking period would be an understatement. As expected of an event this size, there were upsets galore. But, like some of the other tournaments we've talked about today, both of the top 2 seeds made grands. Spargo made history that weekend, becoming the first international player to win a Japanese event. After an early loss to the Samus player Yara, he went on an insane losers run, winning 11 sets in a row, which ended with him making an exhibition of Akola in Grand Finals. In all of top 8, he only dropped games to Akola, Mia, and Yoshidora, never going to a decisive Game 5 even once. With Akola's second place finish, the race for number 1 once again becomes close, going into the insanely stacked Super Major Battle of BC5. While Spargo may have the clear advantage in the head-to-head, he doesn't really have the same amount of major wins, and Akola doesn't have a loss even in the same ballpark as Void. But speaking of insane losers runs, DeBuzz's losers run was one for the ages. After a couple somewhat disappointing finishes at both of the previous majors, apparently something clicked. He suffered a relatively early loss to Taikei, Japan's best solo Sonic, winning 9 sets in a row, 6 of which were Game 5 sets, including players like Hero or Riddles. However, he was not the only person to make a 9-set losers run to get into top 8. Although not quite as impressive in terms of opponents, Mia did the same thing after losing in pools to a Meta Knight named Metara. He still managed to make top 8, in the end losing to the best player in the venue that day, Spargo. Another player that definitely needs mention is Zachary. Japan's previous number 1, now playing Pit, made another top 3 finish. He beat players like Zamba and pushed Akola to Game 5, which is certainly nothing to scoff at. Although the times of him dominating Japan have passed, it's nice to see he can still keep up with the best of the best. The other players making up this top 8 were all players who made top 8 at Maesuma top as well, with Hiro and Yoshidora getting 5th and Riddles getting 7th. Now, just from hearing the top 8 results, you might already have a bit of an idea as to how well the internationals did here. The answer is much better than before, actually. Of course, there were some outliers, like Mudace, who had been having a rough week in general, but overall they did a lot better than at the other 2 events, seemingly having somewhat adapted to these unusual tournament conditions, and proven by results such as Zamba getting 9th. So after all of this, what is the conclusion to which region is better, NA or Japan? Well, the answer to that isn't all that simple. As we saw, the people at the very top level can definitely compete with each other. But the thing that has been proven throughout all of Golden Week is that Japanese Smash is like an infinite abyss, and just when you think you've seen it all, there's a player you've practically never heard of making top 4 at a major. This year's Golden Week was amazing, and hopefully turned much-deserved viewers towards the wonderful and amazing thing that is the Japanese Smash Ultimate scene. Although this was certainly their busiest week, their events don't seem to be slowing down anytime soon, so if you ever have any spare time on your weekend, there's basically always at least one big Japanese tournament you can watch and be surprised by. Hey y'all, thanks for watching. Big thanks to Fortuna for writing, Chugabit for editing, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see even more of them, please consider joining my Patreon. Over there, you'll gain access to a bunch of bonus content, and you'll help fund future projects like these. Speaking of, thank you to our top tier patrons and YouTube members Avishua Stein, Bobby Wasabi, Dorian, Eric is Cool, Juniper, NNG Esports, Storm SSB, Storm, and Tingly Jungle. If you enjoyed this video, you may like my documentary on the worst top tier in Melee, so click on this video and see you there. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time.